So much for your company. I am Pius Kojo Baka. So our very first story, some oil marketing companies have started increasing prices of petroleum products at the pumps. GOIL has taken the lead with some price adjustment for diesel and petrol. More in the following reports.
Market leader GOIL is selling a litre of petrol at 14 cedis 60 pesos from its old price of 14 cedis 55 pesos. Diesel is going for 14 cedis 75 pesos, up from the previous price of 14 cedis 70 pesos. Persons close to GOIL have told Joy Business that the spike is due to the 5 pesos increase in the Unified Petroleum Price Fund margin as directed by the National Petroleum Authority from June 1. They maintained that if it had not been the adjustment, prices would have been kept unchanged at the pumps. Shell is selling a litre of petrol and diesel at 14 cedis 84 pesos. Based on our engagements with other players, more oil marketing firms are expected to increase their prices at the pumps. It is not clear for now what influenced the National Petroleum Authority to direct these players to increase the Unified Petroleum Price Fund. This is because the price of crude is dropping on the world market, which would have resulted in the prices going down on the local market. Some have argued that if it had not been the cedi's depreciation, prices of petroleum products should have gone down at the pumps. We are also not sure how this could impact the push by the unionized transport operators for an increase in fares.
All right, so let's have a discussion on the back of this. Joining us via phone to do that is Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Consumers Ghana, COPEC, Duncan Amoah. Thanks so much, Duncan. And now you say you are disappointed in the National Petroleum Authority for increasing the Unified Petroleum Price Fund margin by some 5 pesos. And I'm wondering why so.
Indeed, one would have expected that we will be concerned as a people in rising cost of fuel in the country, i.e. in respect of inflationary pressures. You would wish that the cost of goods and services could cool off at some point, but it doesn't cool off any time you have fuel prices or fuel costs go up. Mind you, in a few weeks from now, PURC is also allowing cost of electricity. So cost of energy generally increasing affects everything also within an economy. And one would have expected that our actions or inactions or efforts around this time would have been towards bringing down fuel prices to probably the 13 Ghana, 12 Ghana cedis a litre region. It's gone past 14.50, and yet it looks as though our focus as a people or as regulators hasn't really been for getting prices to drop as international benchmarks have consistently declined for the past 1 month, which is about 2 windows locally. For which reason, Pius, you and I should have had local pump prices rather decrease. Unfortunately, the cedi at the same time was also behaving rather erratic and funny. You saw the cedi to dollar exchange move from the 12.25, 12.50 region to hover around 15, 16 Ghana cedis exchange. That, in effect, will wipe away any reduction that you and I deserve at the pump. And so we would have expected that even if we will talk of increasing UPPF, maybe we would have waited a bit for the market pressures to go down. Unfortunately, within a window that it looked as though the market were going to stabilize prices, we've gone to increase something, however marginally, and for which reason the OMCs are now realizing, well, they could have increased their pump prices, so they have also increased their pump prices. I do think that this is something we should have avoided completely.
And Duncan, already we are seeing the impact of this increase we are witnessing basically at the pumps. Could it be avoided?
Yes, this should have been avoided. It's like a little landmine that one is privy to that one could do without, one could probably move without getting trapped with. Unfortunately, we walk straight to the landmine. Today is the fourth day of the month. The window began on the first day of the month. Most of the oil marketing companies generally had, maintained prices. And so where you have the regulator deciding that the UPPF should go up, which has been probed the regulator, could be just because not ago there was some additional pay UPPF to cater security service. What for your police and military and others consume. There was no short of what realizing to pay for their fuel. Unfortunately, we decided at a crucial point as this, rather to introduce an addition, and that simply is what is culminating into fuel prices. If you look at what Vivo has put out now, your regular fuel is approaching 15 Ghana cedis a liter. The specialized fuels equally, fleeing from the 15 to about 16 Ghana cedis a liter. I do not think that we should continue to be piling up these margins, levies, and taxes in a time like this, when rather we should be concerned about fuel prices going up. Fortunately, the cedi seemed to be reversing, and so one would have expected that we let the cedi to reverse the depreciation we saw a few weeks ago, so that as fuel prices decline and there's even a need to adjust the UPPF by 5%, we could have done so without destabilizing or distorting the market as we have done. But unfortunately, at the time that prices could have been stable, our own actions, probably as regulators or as a people, is simply going to feed into an upward adjustment, which you currently reported is happening with the OMCs. It could have been avoided.
Duncan, but for us, we are trying to, hear from the NPA as to why they may do that. But what more are you learning that may have triggered this upward review of the fund margin by the NPA, despite the price of crude dropping on the world market?
Pius, the reasons as we pick from the authority could be valid, could be reasonable, could be okay. But there's also a good reason why timing is very important, even in setting of prices or ceilings or floors or whatever you choose to do with fuel pricing and the sensitivity surrounding fuel price movement. And so whatever the reason be that the NPA feels it justified to have gone ahead to add onto the UPPF, the timing simply looks not good enough, especially considering that we could have had a stabilized window. The first window in June, most of the OMCs would have, probably maintained their prices, but as it stands, they've had to add. And others will take advantage and probably add a little more than they probably ordinarily should have added. And so you would end up with the consumer paying way more, not because international market prices have gone up, but because we decided at this time to add more margin that we could have waited for as the cedi continue to appreciate, so that if fuel prices could come down per the numbers and you decided to slot in 5%, the market would have absorbed it without passing it out. But the timing clearly for us has been the problem, and we think that we could have done a lot better than we have done.
In a minute, Duncan, do you foresee a further rise in the next pricing window, and how consumers really should be cautioned during these times, you would say?
Pius, interestingly, there's a lot of anticipation for an OPEC meeting this week, and further cuts in production numbers expected to be announced. And as I speak with you, the past 3 days have seen prices rise on the international market. If that trend should continue and the cedi also continues to remain around the 14, 15, 16 Ghana region, together with what we have added on UPPF, we simply will be looking for trouble as a people, especially now that gold for oil is also not impacting much. Bank of Ghana is reporting a certain 2.3 billion Ghana cedi that we have pumped in there, meaning that we probably have thrown that money also into a gold for oil program. And so whatever buffers that you and I could have had to save us from increases at the local pumps relative to increases on the international market, there seem to be none at the moment. Rather, we are increasing margins, and that for us is worrying and should be, reversed if possible.
Executive Secretary of COPEC, Duncan Amoah, grateful for speaking to us on Business Live. To one of our headline stories we've lined up for you, more than 500,000 businesses risk being removed from the books of the Registrar of Companies over failure to file their annual returns. This could be described as the final warning to the firms that have failed to settle their renewal fees. More in the following report.
The Registrar of Companies in a notice argued that it is going ahead to do this because of the several notices and personally engaging these firms. The necessary measures have not been taken by these companies to regularize their status. The registrar reminded these companies that if their names are taken off the books, they cannot use it or conduct any business under that name for 12 years. The firm struck off the registrar's books can only be restored by a court directive or instruction. The Registrar of Companies revealed that it is currently going through the list to see those that have complied for the necessary corrections to be done. The Registrar of Companies last month also announced that more business associations risk being removed from the books over their failure to file their annual returns.
Thankfully, we've been joined via Zoom by the Registrar of Companies, Jemima Owari. Thanks so much, Madam Owari, and good to see you. What's the rationale behind this notice from your office? Because we thought there have been earlier directives, right? Kindly unmute for me, Madam.
Thank you very much for giving ORC the opportunity to address this very pertinent issue. We have had to come out with this notice once again. Since 2020, we have been making all these notices, informing businesses of the need to file their annual returns and to renew their business names. Let me correct one information you put out there. We are not removing 500,000 companies.
Okay.
We are going to remove 8,895 companies. If you give me the opportunity, I'll break it down for you.
Do so for me.
As far back as 2020, we started off with a list of about 10,734 companies. And we published 2,203 business companies out. We did a second publication, about 1,563. We did a third publication, 6,968, coming to about 10,934 companies that had not filed their annual returns and financial statements. Even this, it was just a sample of the companies on the register. To date, voluntarily, about 482 companies have written to us that we should take their names off the register. And only 3,367 have filed up to date. So we have companies that have not filed, over 6,885. That is for companies limited by shares, both public and private. Then we come to guarantee companies, that is churches and organizations and clubs. We published over 2,927 of them, and up to date, only 11 have volunteered to strike off, and 911 have also come to file. So I have over 2,000 churches and clubs and associations that have not also filed returns and renewed. That's why I'm talking of over 8,895 of such companies. I'm giving them up to the end of June. By 1st July, will take their names off the register. That is it for companies. It's the business names that are the 500,000 we published. And out of that, only 5,000 have renewed. So that one as well, we would also take those names out by the 1st of July.
And that's quite a sizable number of companies, really. But what happens to them when their names are taken off from the register?
What it means is that you should be able to do due diligence on such companies before you sign any contract.
Rather unfortunate, Madam Jemima Owari's line has frozen due to some internet challenges, and we shall rectify that from our side or her side to bring her on stream to speak to us on that. I'm told she's back. So, Madam Owari, you were making a point. Yeah.
Has it come back?
Yes. Kindly go ahead.
Yes. Okay. So you need to go to the courts under Section 289(5) of the Companies Act. You need to go to the courts to have your name restored, and you'll be off for the next 12 years. What that means is that you'll be doing, if you don't do due diligence on our register, people will be doing businesses with companies or business names that
come back to Business Live, hoping that this time round we'll have a better connection and interaction with Madam Jemima Owari. Thanks so much for joining us once again. And earlier you were making a point as to what happens to these businesses or companies that finds themselves out from your register.
Thank you for bringing me back on. Yeah. So per Section 2895 of the Companies Act, once your name is taken off the register, you are not to do business with anybody for the next 12 years until you go to court, and it's at the discretion of the court that will direct us to reinstate you on the register. So my advice to businesses, if you want to do any business with anybody in this country, please check from our website, www.orc.gov.gh. Check and confirm that indeed
unmute for me, Madam Owari.
Yeah. Okay, yes. So my advice to all businesses is before you sign on any contract with any company or business name, check from our website, www.orc.gov.gh, whether such a company's name has been taken off the register or whether they are in good standing. You can always find that one out from our website. Very well. I do not desire to take names and businesses. My prayer is that they will all try and renew before the 1st of July.
Very well. Thanks so much, Madam Jemima Owari, Registrar of Companies, speaking to us there. Let's move on to some other stories. The head of survey at the Institute of Economic Affairs, Samuel Menu, has described the recent tariff increment by the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission as insensitive. According to him, the utility provider has failed to provide efficient and sustainable supply of power to businesses and households, and which have negatively impacted their profitability. He spoke during a press conference.
Seen a worrying rise in power outages across Ghana. This prompted the Institute of Economic Affairs to conduct a survey gauging the experiences of businesses and households following the President's declaration that the Dumsor crisis was over. However, head of survey at the IEA suggested recent months have seen a worrying rise in power outages across Ghana. This prompted the Institute of Economic Affairs to conduct a survey gauging the experiences of businesses and households following the President's declaration that the Dumsor crisis was over. However, head of survey at the IEA suggests the problem still persists.
An average of 4 outages in a week, which lasts for 7 or more hours for most people, cannot be attributed to mere faulty transformers, as claimed by the utility managers. It surely has elements of low electricity production and supply. Therefore, we conclude that Dumsor persisted even after the President made the bold declaration that Dumsor was over and would never return. The President's declaration, which has turned out not to be true, sets another bad precedent and will make it difficult for businesses and households to trust official information on the power crisis in Ghana.
The survey revealed a significant impact, particularly in the Greater Accra region.
About 64.5% of respondents indicated that the effect of power outages in the year 2024 include damage to their electrical appliances or financial losses to their businesses or both. With this, we conclude that Dumsor has brought untold hardship to most of the people in the Greater Accra region. Financial losses referred to in this survey include damaged goods and lost revenue due to outages.
Mr. Menu further questioned the effectiveness of the recent electricity tariff adjustments.
As for the story of we are paying less tariffs, I heard it in my mother's room. Ghana we have never paid enough tariff, but there is always increase in the tariff. So what is enough tariff? They should tell us. At what tariff rate should we pay for ECD to be sustainable? We've never heard that. Whether we should pay 10,000, 200, 500, they should tell us. They will know how far we are from that tariff rate. Let's describe that as insensitive in the situation we find ourselves.
The survey further found that 49% of respondents are unsure when the power crisis might end, with another 6.7% fearing it may be a permanent issue. This highlights a sense of hopelessness or uncertainty surrounding Ghana's power sector.
In more business news, the National Pensions Regulatory Authority has assured it will work to ensure that workers' interests are protected in any move by SSNIT to dispose its stake in some hotels. This is coming after organized labor began fresh engagement with Minister of Pensions over their opposition for the State Pensions Trust, that's SSNIT, to sell off some of these hotels. Now, John Quenin-Mbro is the Chief Executive of the National Pensions Regulatory Authority and has been speaking on PM Express Business Edition, which airs this Thursday at 9 p.m.
I can give you that 100% assurance that, look, it's your money, my money. That's one. Two, we want to ensure that there's value for money, there's transparency, okay? And there's good judgment in all this. So basically, these are the key, points on which we actually evaluate this whatever is ongoing there. So we are going to ensure that, I mean, all actors in that, we have to review, we have to know where we stand in that, and then the assessments, the processes as well, and then value for money. And I keep saying that it's your money, my money, and that is what we can do for our country and our people. So we can assure you that, yes, serious engagement will continue on this, and we'll come up with something that will near to the Ghanaian worker. And our country. So that is what it is.
Yesterday we spoke to the organized labor on radio as well, and they talked about some meetings that will take place today and all the rest. I mean, how are these engagements going to ensure that all these parties, because organized labor, for instance, are saying that we don't want SSNIT to go out to disinvest their interest. But again, from the regulator's perspective, you also want to ensure that, listen, what can be done to sustain the scheme as well?
Okay, so yes, I'm part of that meeting, and in due course, I'll have to join. We are all part, working in a collaborative manner for the good of the scheme. We have one cardinal thing to make SSNIT financially sustainable. The SSNIT scheme, the Basic National Social Security Scheme, that's the name of the scheme. The trustee, the trust company is the SSNIT. All we seek to do is to ensure that as regulators, the ministry, the regulator, and then also all actors, we play our roles in a manner that we lend support, in a manner that would make sure that the scheme itself is financially sustainable.
John Quenin-Mbro is the CEO of the Pensions Regulatory Authority, having that interaction with my colleague George Yafe on PM Express Business Edition, which airs this Thursday. Do make a date. Thanks so much for being part of the bulletin. I am Pius Kojo Baka. For more stories, do log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Do enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye.